John, one of the last living disciples that walked with Jesus, was living in exile on an island called Patmos. One day, God gave him a vision, commanding him to write letters to 7 different churches. John also saw a series of mysterious and symbolic scenes. He saw a door open into heaven, and he was swept up into it. He saw a throne with someone sitting on it. In front of the throne, he saw a lamb, looking as if it had been killed. Lightning flashed from the throne and thunder clapped. People and creatures surrounding the throne all fell down and worshipped the Lamb. And thousands of angels circled the throne and said in a loud voice, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain." Every creature in heaven and on earth gave praise to the Lamb and to the one seated on the throne. Next, John saw every person who ever lived standing in front of the throne. A book called the Book of Life opened up. Anyone whose name was not in the Book of Life was thrown into a lake of fire. But for all those whose names were there, something amazing awaited. John saw a bright and shining city descend from the sky. A loud voice told him this was where all of God's people will live, and that God will live there among them forever. God will wipe away every tear, and there will be no more death, crying, or pain. A river as clear as crystal flowed from the throne of God through the middle of this great city. Next to the river stood the tree of life, which healed the world from every wrong, making all things perfect. Then Jesus himself, standing with John, said, "Come, let those who are thirsty come. Let all who wish take a free gift of the water of life."
Those videos have been so fun. If you haven't seen them, you might want to ask us. We'll get you a copy of them because they just do a great job of telling the story all the way through the Bible. Today we're going to talk about heaven. Heaven, that perfect place. That place of bliss. What did Mountain say? No, what did you say, Mountain? You got a good answer there. What was that? No sadness, yeah. It's a place where everything is right, where it's good, where it's as it should be. Can you imagine? I have a tough time imagining that. Do you have a vision in your mind about what heaven might look like? I do. And I even have a picture of it. This is what I think heaven's going to be like. I'm going to finally have my garage organized. I'm going to be able to pull my car in, and everything's going to be in boxes and kind of tacked on the walls, and I'm looking forward to that. That's my heaven. I'm not terribly ambitious where I'm at. There are other people that have visions of heaven as well. People have visions of a place of justice, a place of correctness as they see it, a place of fairness as they see it, and they believe they can make heaven here, now, and they can make it on earth today. You know these people. We see them in the news, don't they? They are religious and racial extremists who see heaven built on their vision of what is good. They are anarchists on college campuses that see heaven as that time when American imperialism will finally be wiped off the face of the earth. There are technology companies who want us to believe and think a certain way, and so they're going to censor certain things said or advertised or talked about on their website so that they can create, with their money and their enormous power, the heaven that they understand. Isn't it interesting that so many people with so many different understandings of what the world is supposed to be like all recognize that it is broken? And that we live in a world where good is separated from what actually is, and it needs fixing. Isn't it interesting that all those people see it that way? And so many have a desire to fix it and turn this place into heaven. So what is heaven? There are hundreds of references of heaven in Scriptures. But you know, really, Scripture reveals very little about what heaven will be like. You heard it today, but there are a lot of different ideas of what heaven will be like. Are you worried that maybe heaven will be a little bit boring? That maybe you need to bring a magazine while you're sitting on your cloud waiting for whatever's supposed to happen to happen? There's some 9-year-old kids who were asked what heaven was going to be like, and here's some responses. James said, when you die, they bury you in the ground, and your soul goes to heaven. But your body can't go to heaven because it's too crowded up there already. Megan said, only the good people go to heaven. The other people go where it's hot all the time, like in Florida. John said, maybe I'll die someday, but I hope I don't die on my birthday because it's no fun to celebrate your birthday if you're dead. And little Bethany said, when you die, you don't have to do homework in heaven, unless your teacher's there also. That is not heaven. But I have some good news. Heaven is at hand. Heaven is happening. Heaven is in our future. And it's not that we will be there after some period of delay or of torment or of waiting. We will find ourselves in heaven immediately. Jesus said to the thief on the cross, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. When Peter talks about his death, he calls it his departure. He uses the Greek word that means to weigh anchor, to go on a journey. It's not a one-time event. It is a journey that we begin immediately. We don't know a lot about heaven, but we do know that heaven is an amazing state where we exist in the presence of God. A God who chooses us to be there, who is choosing us to be there. And something that we have not been able to do since the fall of humans in the Garden of Eden, we are able to live with Him in His presence. But as wonderful as heaven sounds, heaven is not the great hope of us Christians. That's not our end game. Our end game is much bigger than that. Jesus did not rise from the dead and die so that our souls could go and be in heaven. He did not die, arise, and ascend and come again in order for us to go sit on a cloud somewhere or go be in this heaven place. He did this in order to renew creation. He did what He did in order that we could restore this. We read that in our scripture today. Let me read it again in a paraphrased version from the Bible, the Message Bible, which sounds a little bit different. John writes in Revelation, I saw heaven and earth new created. Gone the first heaven, gone the first earth, gone the sea. I saw holy Jerusalem, new created, descending, resplendent out of heaven, as ready for God as a bride is for her husband. I heard a voice thunder from the throne. Look, look, God has moved into the neighborhood, making His home with men and women. They are His people. He is their God. He'll wipe every tear from their eye. Death is gone for good. Gone crying, gone pain, all the first order of things gone. The enthroned spoke, "Look, I am making everything new." See, the great joy we have as Christians is not that Christ will come again and take us to heaven, but that Christ will come again and restore a new age, a new heaven and a new earth, and we will be part of it. And we will have a role and a place and a job and a position in how it all comes together. Our new home will be God's home. And we will never feel distance from Him again. And in this home, we will have bodies that are strong and clothed in honor and glory and beauty, and free from all the sin and the sickness and the frailty and the problems that all of us have been touched by. We'll have no death, no disease, no divorce, no trials, no turmoil, no funeral homes, no drug rehabilitation centers, no mugging and crime, no worry and depression, no recessions or wars, no hidden agendas, no backroom deals, no betrayals, no grief, no brokenness that we all are touched by. We will find all of us in a state of rightness with the world. We will find all of the people we talk with and work with and live with and socialize with in rightness with the world. We will all be in perfect harmony. And we will know God, and we will know His will, and we will know His ways. It's like what we have now, but about 1,000,000 times better. It's hard to imagine what that's like. There was a little girl born a number of years ago to a young couple. And as that girl started to grow up, her parents realized she was having visual problems, so they took her to an ophthalmologist. And the ophthalmologist diagnosed her with some disease and said, very likely your daughter will be totally blind by age 2. But as she gets older, we may be able to do a surgery that would repair that, maybe. And the little girl did go blind. And they spent the next 10 years living fine with this little girl with no sight. And then when she became 12, they went back to the doctor and said, "Can you do something for this?" And he said, we may be able to. So at age 13, they took her in, and she had surgery. And 2 days after the surgery, one evening, they took the bandages off. It was the evening, and her room had a view to the east, of tall clouds that were billowing over the mountains. And as the sun was setting and turning those clouds orange and pink and crimson, they took these bandages off. And this little girl looked up for the first time in 11 years and gasped and said, "Mom, why didn't you tell me how beautiful it is?" The mom began crying and embraced her daughter and said, I did, I just didn't know how to describe it. That is what heaven will be like. That is what John is trying to say in the book of Revelation. We are God's people, and we have a glorious future ahead of us. What will it be like? It's hard to describe, but it will be good. What is heaven? What do you see? I'm counting on my garage being organized. And when it is, I want you to come over and check it out. because you will be there too. Good news? Good news. God's people say, Amen.